Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Radio Networks on Sunday, October 9th, 2011. This is episode 812. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Gazelle, the easy way to sell or recycle most any used electronic gadget from your home or office. Don't just sell it, Gazelle it. Gazelle your used gadgets today at gazelle.com. Well, a good day to you, Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy, and it's time to talk tech. Computers, internet, cell phones, camcorders, MP3 players, home theater, all that jazz. Scott Wilkinson, our home theater guru. I think he's joining us today. Yeah, I think his concert's over. We'll talk home theater in about half an hour, 33 after the hour. We'll also take your calls at 8888 Ask Leo, 827-5536. If only, but hey, be easy with me. I've only been doing this 7 years. 88. Actually, I've only been doing the Tech Guy for 7 years. I've been doing this kind of stuff since 1991. 1990, amazing. Well, of course, this was a very interesting week for tech journalists. Apple announced a new phone on Tuesday, and on Wednesday we got the very sad news about Steve Jobs passing away. And, you know, I've spent a lot of time over the last 4 or 5 days thinking about Mr. Jobs, thinking about the contribution he made, and you know, I'm very grateful because he certainly made my job a lot more interesting. You know, there have been many people, in fact, many people at Apple who have contributed to the revolution that we cover on this show. But Mr. Jobs has probably done more, single-handedly done more than anybody else. Not as an engineer particularly, or as an inventor, although he had more than 300 patents to his name. But really as a leader. I think that's really, if you want to put one word on what Steve Jobs did, it was lead. He got the best out of the people who worked for him, sometimes with challenging methods. If he didn't drive you crazy, he'd drive you to excellence. But I think we are very fortunate to have lived in an era where there was a man like Steve Jobs, with all his flaws, driven as he was, to make the personal computer revolution happen. First with the Apple II. Huge achievement. Achievement any single person would have been glad to just rest his laurels on, right? I mean, you ushered in the personal computer revolution. That's pretty good. That's a good start. It wasn't the first personal computer by any means. There were many kit computers before that. The MITS Altair was huge. That's the one that got Bill Gates to jump out of bed at Harvard and write Microsoft Basic, create the company Microsoft. That predated the Apple I and the Apple II. But it was really the Apple II that was the first really mass-produced computer that was sold to many people in the home as well as in the office. And when Dan Bricklin and Bob Frankston wrote a program called VisiCalc, a program that took the laborious manual creation of spreadsheets with pen and paper, or pencil and paper, and digitized it, it sold an awful lot of Apple II computers to business. But Steve Jobs wasn't willing to just sit back and say, yeah, see, I did that. I got a pretty good company here. In fact, Apple was doing really, really well with the Apple II when he said, but we can do better. And he took a bunch of Apple's top engineers and he found a little building off in the corner of the Apple campus, and he literally raised a pirate flag over that building and said, we are the pirates. We are the outcasts. We are going to make something even better. Apple had the Apple III, which was a flop, the Lisa, which was too expensive. He said, we're going to make an inexpensive, easy-to-use personal computer. And, of course, in 1984, Apple introduced the Macintosh. What people may not remember is that the Macintosh was not a big seller initially. People still bought the Apple II in great numbers. In fact, there was a lot of dissent within Apple about what to do about the Macintosh and the Apple II. Steve Jobs said, no, the future of this company rests in Windows, in mouse, in GUIs. This is our future. Let's put everything into the Mac. The CEO he had brought in, adult supervision just a couple of years ago. Remember, Mr. Jobs at this time is still in his 20s. That CEO, John Scully, who had run Pepsi, and his board said, no, we're making too much money on the Apple II. We cannot invest money on this computer, this Macintosh, which nobody wants. And they fired Steve Jobs. Kind of amazing thing to do. But you know what? We should be glad. It's interesting because John Scully, just a few months ago in an interview, said, I really regret that. We should have made it work. It was his company after all. We should have gone to Steve and said, let's make this work. Let's find a way to keep you here. Let's keep you as CEO. And it's John Scully says, to my lasting regret that we did not do that. Furthermore, Steve Jobs never forgave Scully and never talked to him again. Never again. And Scully regretted that. But you know what? It wasn't a bad thing. As often happens in life, one door closes, another opens. Steve Jobs, no longer running Apple Computers, started his own company, Next Computers. And he picked up a little animation company called Pixar. He put all his energy into those two companies. And, of course, Pixar, well, we don't have to say what happened to Pixar. It became an amazing motion picture production company. Toy Story 1, 2, and 3, and Cars, and on and on and on. And eventually Disney bought it, and Steve Jobs became the largest single shareholder in Disney, worth billions. Not a bad move. Next Computer, you might say, was a flop and a failure, but you know, it really wasn't. They made these Next Cubes, kind of like the Lisa, a little too expensive, a little too specialized, a little too good. But he put his heart and soul into it, put a brilliant team together, created a Unix-based system that had a lot of power, used some really unusual things like display PostScript to make a beautiful screen. Jobs was always an aesthete. And he made Unix easy to use for the first time. So easy that a physicist in Geneva, Switzerland, Tim Berners-Lee, used the Next box in 1988 to design something he called the World Wide Web and to write the first web browser on a Next box. That's a pretty good achievement. They never met, Steve and Tim. They passed like ships in the night. Tim Berners-Lee, in a article on his blog that he wrote about Steve Jobs, said that, you know, Steve came to an event that was to show off all the different things these scientists had done with their Next boxes, and Steve was, as the president of Next, came to see it, and he said he ran out of time before he got to our demonstration of the World Wide Web. Wonder what Jobs would have made of that. But Next wasn't a failure, really, because when Apple went looking for a next-generation operating system, they looked far and wide. They did a partnership with IBM, an operating system called Pink that never went anywhere. They looked at their former Vice President Jean-Louis Gasset's operating system, BOS. That was pretty good. I remember how much we loved BOS in the 90s. But they decided instead to buy from Next their operating system called Next Step. I think the Apple board must have had some sort of good sense after all, because along with buying Next, they also got this guy, Steve Jobs, who came back as the CEO. Remember at the time he said, I'm the interim CEO. He took $1 a year and said, I'll just run it till we find somebody to run it. Next Step became OS X, which of course is the Apple Macintosh operating system to this day, and easily one of the best, if not the best, operating system on personal computers. Steve Jobs stayed as CEO and took that company and turned it around. First he did the iMac, a color Macintosh for the rest of us, just $12.99. And typical Steve move, he said, no floppy drive. Floppy's dead. In 1998, a little premature, but you know what? He was right. It was the first all-USB machine. He said, USB, that's got a future. In 2001, he created the iPod and changed the music industry forever. Not the first MP3 player, just the best. In 2007, he introduced the iPhone. Not the first smartphone, just the best. And, of course, he changed the world of computing, put us in a post-PC era just a year ago with the iPad. That's a lot for one man. He died young. We'll miss him, but he sure accomplished a lot. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Your call's next. 8888 Ask Leo.
Only the good die young. That's what I said. Only the good die young.
Oh, now you're going to make me cry.
Good die young.
You know, Kyle Benham, our musical director, picks great music, apropos music. But I have to say, Kyle, I don't know if Steve Jobs was good. I don't think he was. I think he might have been great, but I don't think he was good. You know, I think that's the truth about Steve, is that he was, as I would guess with all great people, all people who have achieved greatness, perhaps not the nicest guy ever. You know, it's funny. I've told the story before of spending some time with Steve in 1995. With Steve and his family, me and my family. At the time, my daughter was 3, my son just born, about 7 or 8 months old. He had his own 2 little children, and he had his teenage daughter, Lisa, with him, and his wife, Lorraine. And I never had much of it. I think I was in awe of him. And even in 1995, remember, he's not at Apple. He's at Pixar. He's at Next. But I'm a tech journalist, and I'm in awe of him. And he never really liked tech journalists very much. So he stood at arm's length. But my wife, Jennifer, was telling me that she spent about half an hour with Steve, and he was very open and talked about his parents dying and his life. And I think because she was a normal person who probably not only was not in awe of Steve Jobs, she certainly knew who he was, but wasn't even a fan particularly. And so I think if he trusted you, he could be quite something, quite a nice person. But if you worked for him or he needed something of you, you know, there's the story of him and Steve Wozniak in their very earliest days. So before Apple, he and Steve partnered up to make blue boxes, which were telephone hacking devices, which they sold. Woz built them. Steve was good with a soldering iron. You know, he was technical, certainly not a novice, but not a designer. Woz would design it. He and Steve would build these little blue boxes and sell them. I think Steve had an internship at Atari. Woz was working at HP, and Steve got an assignment from Atari. He was able to get a gig from Atari to build a coin-op of a game that was very popular, still around, called Breakout. You know, that way you bounce the balls against the... It was kind of the next thing. Pong had been very popular with Atari, and Atari wanted to do a game called Breakout, which is kind of another kind of Pong. And they offered Jobs $475. He went to his friend Steve Wozniak and said, "Hey, let's do this. Can you build this, Steve?" Steve said, "Oh yeah, I can build it." He said, "Great, we'll split the money." Steve built it. In fact, Woz built it so well, he was able to get it in very, very few chips. That was Woz's big thing. Woz always wanted to say, how cheap, how few chips can we make this work? And so he did an amazing design, as is often the case with Woz. And what Woz didn't learn until much later is that Atari was so impressed with the design, they gave Steve Jobs $5,000 in bonus money. Jobs never told Woz that. Split the $475 with Woz. Kept the $5,000. So I'm not implying that he was good. He was great. He was an amazing person. It's funny because Woz wrote about this in his book. I've asked him about it several times since. He will never say anything bad about Steve Jobs, never. And that's kind of a measure of respect. I truly believe, I know he loved Steve, as we all did. But if you love somebody, you have to acknowledge their flaws. None of us are perfect. And I think it's important perhaps for kids especially now, not to hear this sainthood of Steve Jobs, not to get the impression that Steve was all perfect. He dropped out of Reed, his college, and in one semester dropped out and just kind of took classes. He was a unique individual. I'm hoping this biography, which comes out later this month, Walter Isaacson wrote an authorized biography, 40 interviews with Mr. Jobs before he passed away. 40 interviews, and they've rushed the book out, of course. I'm hoping this tells the full story. I think that Steve would want that full story told. I really do. Warts and all. And I hope that we do, because I think it's important to understand these great people, these great leaders, these great captains of industry as for what they are. It also helps us because none of us is perfect, and if you think there are perfect people out there, it's kind of depressing. He was a great man. He accomplished more, created the Apple II and the Macintosh before he was 30. Great man. I mean, there's no question about it. And boy, I have to be grateful to him because my career would not be as fun, as rich, as interesting, and it won't be without him. I have to say, he was fun to cover. 8888 Ask Leo. Let's get our first call of the day from Marin County, just down the road a piece. Jerry is on the line, listening on the great KGO in San Francisco. Hi, Jerry.
What line?
Oh, I'm sorry. I pushed line 1, but I guess I didn't do it right. Let me try it now, Kyle. Don't touch it. Hi, Jerry.
Yeah, I'm right here.
Yay. Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Welcome to the show. What can I do for you? It's good.
I work with a number of small organizations, and they want to stream live. And I was curious if you had a streaming service like Ustream, Bambuser. I know there's a whole bunch of them, but do you have any recommendations? And we also want to stream live to their organization's webpage. So what are your recommendations?
So all of them will do that. They give you an embed. You can embed it right on the page, just as we have. If you go to twit.tv, which is my live streaming internet broadcasting company, you'll see my show. You'll see me right now, in fact. And you'll see there on the right-hand side a choice of different streaming partners. Ustream, you mentioned, ustream.tv. There's also justin.tv. We use a company called BitGravity. There's another company we don't use, but it's quite good, called Livestream. I think my recommendation, if you're just coming out of the box, is to go to ustream.tv. They offer a program called the Ustream Producer, which is kind of their branded version of a program called Wirecast that is really handy, does a nice job, even lets you switch cameras and things. And yeah, you can you'll have a Ustream channel at ustream.tv, but you can embed that channel on a web page just as we have.
Now, I noticed with Facebook that you can do it on your personal web page, but it didn't seem to pick it up on the company's web page.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what that is all about. I noticed that Ustream has an app for Facebook that lets you stream directly to Facebook, which is a nice thing to do if you can. I played with it a little bit. I never got it working even on the personal page, so you're one step ahead of me. But I haven't tried it in quite some time. Let me ask the chat room, is anybody using Ustream to stream, the Ustream app to stream on Facebook on a fan page, not a personal page? Understand that Facebook is changing everything anyway. For individuals like me, they don't want us to have fan pages. They just want us to have personal pages that we allow people to subscribe to. That's what I've done. If you go to facebook.com/the Leo Laporte, that's the fan page. But if you go to facebook.com/Leo G Laporte, that used to be my personal page, but now you can subscribe to updates there. Brands, I guess they'll still want to have, they won't be calling them fan pages anymore. They'll still want to have brand pages. The advantage of a brand page, and I don't know how Facebook is going to address this, is that you get all sorts of interesting stats about people who visit the page, how long they stay, what they click, what they like, what they do. That's useful. That's useful. So I'm not sure. They're telling me in the chat room that Justin works quite well. And they suggest going to ustream.tv/Facebook to find out more about it. So either one, Jerry, I think should work. Good luck. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. We'll talk home theater next.
Breakout is a brand new game from Atari. Have you played Atari today?
If you liked Breakout, you'll love Super Breakout. It's got more color, more sound, and more action. And naturally, it's from Atari.
And Steve Jobs. And Steve Wozniak. Actually, they built, that was great. Thank you, Kyle Benham, for finding that old Atari ad. They built the coin-op version of that. Of course, that was an ad for the probably the Atari 2600 game box, which was what got me into computing, actually. I was not an Apple II user. I was enamored of the Lisa. I remember very well looking in a window with my nose pressed against the window thinking, oh, $10,000, I guess I'll never get that. But we had, I had convinced the boss to buy CPM computers. We had a Fortune system, which is a multi-user system, and I remember getting a North Star CPM system, a North Star Advantage, and doing some programming on that, some D-based programming on that for the radio station I worked at in San Jose. We were just down the road a bit from Apple, actually. So very aware of Apple and the Apple II. But Atari was also in Silicon Valley. And I used to go over to the Chuck E. Cheese and play the coin-op games over there. And I spent so many quarters that I finally said, I should get one of these 2600s. And I got it, and I said, this is stupid. So I got the Atari 400, which was a computer. And but it didn't have a real keyboard. It had a membrane keyboard. So then I got the Atari 800. Then I started writing software. It was all over. My first Apple was a Macintosh in March 1984. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Scott Wilkinson, the home theater guy. He's the online editor for Home Theater Magazine at hometheater.com. Hello, Scotty.
Hey, Leo. How you doing?
I'm great. How was the concert?
Oh, it was excellent. Excellent. We kicked some serious butt.
That was in Santa Cruz on Sunday.
Yeah, Saturday night, actually.
Saturday night, great.
Yep, it was a reunion concert with the band I played in 35 years ago.
Did you have an Apple II when you were a young?
I didn't. My first computer was a Mac 512.
Ah, yes.
And, I never buy the first generation of anything. I always wait till the second generation at least.
We're opposites in that regard.
Well, a lot of geeks like to go for the very first generation, the early adopter thing and all that stuff. I'd rather let the early adopters are very important, and I applaud them greatly.
Well, somebody's got to pay for pay for the first generation and get all the bugs fixed so that normal people can own the things. Yeah,
that's exactly right. But I'd rather
volunteer.
let someone else do that.
Yeah, no, I volunteer. I'm happy to volunteer. I love that. Scott is, of course, writes for Home Theater Magazine. We bring him on to talk about home theater every week, and of course, you always get questions from your readers. You got some for this week?
I sure do. I got tons. I got something from the Czech Republic, believe it or not. Andre Havala is just getting started with a multi-channel, and he's got a Pioneer AV receiver and a Yamo 5.1 system. We don't see Yamo speakers very much in the U.S. anymore, but I think they're still pretty prevalent in Europe. They come out of Denmark. And he's got his system wired for the surrounds to be behind him in a 5.1. And he said he noticed that most of the time you see 5.1 systems with the surround speakers to the sides. And will it work if he puts them in back? And the answer is yes, it will. But there'll be kind of a hole. If something pans from the front to the back, it'll feel like it kind of drops out to the side and then comes back in the back. So it'll feel a little disjointed. He said he's going to convert to 7.1 later, but now he's going to use 5.1. And he asks, should he use the surround or the back surround outputs of the AV receiver from Pioneer? And the answer is I would still, for a 5.1 configuration, even though the rear speakers are in the back, I'd use the surround outputs, not the back surround outputs, primarily because while there is an increasing number of Blu-rays that have a 7.1 soundtrack, most of them are still 5.1. And certainly any broadcast multi-channel is going to be 5.1. So you really want to use those surround outputs and tell the receiver that you don't have any back surrounds, even though your side surrounds are located in the back, but they're functioning really as the main surrounds, not the back surrounds. And so I would use the main surround outputs, tell the receiver you don't have back surrounds, and put them back there because that's where your wires are. Okay, so you're going to end up with a little bit of a dip in the sound field. But until you get a 7.1, 2 more speakers and put 2 on the side and 2 on the back, then that's just something that you'll have to live with, I'd say. So that's the answer to that question.
Cool. Great. Scott, by the way, I should mention, Scott hosts, if you like this stuff, a home theater podcast called Home Theater Geeks, which kind of explains what this is for the people who really like this stuff. And that's Mondays at 1:30 Pacific, 4:30 Eastern on our TWiT network, twit.tv. Who's on Monday? We missed you last week.
Yeah.
Are you taking Columbus Day off? Don't tell me that.
No, I'm not taking Columbus Day off.
Okay.
That is not unless your crew is taking Columbus Day
No, we're
off.
here. Believe me, I'm making them work on Columbus Day.
Okay, well, I'm working on Columbus Day, too. Last week, actually, was a personal family matter I had to take off for.
I understand.
But this week, I do have a guest. It is Derek Smith, one of the founders of Spectracal, which is a maker of calibration software, which professionals use, but also, geeky home theater end users use it to calibrate their TVs. So we're going to be talking about TV calibration. We're going to be talking about they're marketing a new video processor, a color processor that uses what's called human factors. That is research about how humans perceive color, in this case, to automatically adjust a TV's, or rather the final picture's settings, to compensate for different amounts of room lighting and other issues that are variable in the viewing environment, so that you get the best possible picture you can, regardless of whether you've got ambient light in the room or not. I saw this at CEDIA when I was there early last month, about a month ago now. Wow, time really flies. And it was pretty impressive. So I'm really looking forward to that. We may also get into this nanosys type of display. I mentioned this to you when I was talking to you from Indianapolis, and you said that you knew somebody who was also into it. Nanoparticles that glow green or red when exposed to blue light. And this may be a new type of display technology. And I saw an example of that at the show as well. And so Derek, I'm pretty sure, knows quite a bit about that as well. So I'm hoping to get into that with him, along with this color processor and general topics about TV calibration, which is always one of my favorite subjects.
Always a good subject.
Always a good
How can people reach you if they want to ask you a question?
Very easy, very easy. Simply write to me at scott@techguylabs.com.
And read Scott and hometheater.com. Are you still doing reviews and things like that? I know you're the online editor. Does that mean you just have to tweet all the time, or what's?
No, I do reviews. I haven't been as much lately because I've had a few other things that I needed to do, but I have a Panasonic TV in the studio that I'm about to start reviewing. I'm going to get a Vizio next week. You can see, those of you who are watching the video, that I ask a poll question every week.
Yeah, this is the poll question. Do audio measurements correlate with sound quality? In other words, can you measure what you hear?
Exactly. And what we do measure, how well does that indicate whether or not
that's a great question.
You're going to whether or not you're going to, if it measures well, is it going to sound good?
No.
If it measures poorly, is it going to sound bad?
I'm going to say yes, but they're only weakly correlated. There's correlation, but there seems so much psychoacoustics. There's stuff you can't.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to say what you think, because obviously that'll tilt the poll. But I just feel like there's some psychoacoustics that are hard to measure.
Correct. And you'll notice that I put in there one item that is, it depends on the product and the environment and the type of testing
Little
that you're
tip,
doing.
never put "it depends" in a poll, because everybody will select that one.
Well, they didn't, though.
Oh, well, we'll go see. Hometheater.com. Thank you, Scott Wilkinson. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Can be good, can be bad, it all depends on you.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
I can be lonely out in a crowd.
Oh, yeah.
Can be humble, maybe proud. It all depends.
8888. Ask Leo. That's the phone number. Back to the phones we go. As somebody in the chat room said, enough of this panty waist stuff. No more home theater. Let's talk tech. Gary and Laguna Niguel. Hi, Gary.
Yes, Leo. Let's see. It's been a long time since I called you.
Yeah. Well, welcome back.
I'm still photographing those birds.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Anyways, well, let's see. Well, what I like to do, I like to show my photos to fellow birders and also people involved in the business of printing photos. And the phone I have right now is a Samsung Intensity.
Okay.
And being that I'm a person, I really have no reason to transmit data, no texting, no nothing, meaning just I use a phone as a telephone, but I do like having a good size display.
Well, the Intensity does not have a good size. The Intensity's tiniest display, right?
problem. And when I go to Verizon and I ask them about the Droid phones and the iPhones, they say, I need a data plan.
Yes.
So do you have any alternatives of which phone I can get that has a big display where I don't need the data?
That's an intriguing concept. Now, I guess you could get an unlocked phone and not tell Verizon that you have a smartphone. You could not tell Verizon you have a smartphone and just hook it up to their network. Of course, the problem with Verizon is it's not a GSM network. It's what we call CDMA. That means you have to get Verizon to take the phone. You know, you give it the IMEI number and so forth. My best advice for you, Gary, is to go to an independent Verizon dealer, not the company Verizon store, but a cell phone store, and there are lots of them that sell, all of the carriers. These stores make their living by selling you the phone, but then they get a cut from the cell phone carrier each month as you pay. So
you're talking about like Costco.
Costco would be one, Parrot Mobile, places like that. And often, there's probably a Laguna Niguel Cellular that's the guy. They're on every corner. But these guys can activate any phone to your Verizon account. They just want the piece of the pie, right? They don't care what kind of phone you buy.
Exactly.
And they may be able to sell you or find for you, they can order, I'm sure, any phone, a big screen phone, and you don't tell Verizon it's a data phone. You don't use data on it. The minute you use data, you'll be sorry because they'll charge you a lot of money, but you just have now a big screen phone.
And this is the thing that really aggravates me, Leo, is when you go into Verizon and I tell them I have no reason to use the data. I say,
they want you to pay for the data. That's thousands of dollars a year.
Yeah, and this is the thing. When I asked the people at Verizon, I said, you don't need a data plan for that phone to function, do you? And they said, yes, you do.
Well, they require it. That's not technically, of course, but they require it because that's how they make money. The other way to go is to get an iPod Touch or an iPad.
An iPod Touch has crossed my mind, but the only thing is that it is not a cell phone when I need it.
Right. You want a phone.
Right. Yeah. So if
you use the display, Gary, to show your photo, to look at your photos? Is that what you're saying? That's why you need it?
Exactly. A lot of times I lead not only bird walks, I lead nature walks, and people say, well, where are your photos? I say, here they are. And it's kind of hard to show someone my photos on a small little Samsung Intensity. If I had something big like an iPhone or one of these Droid phones, with a big 4-inch screen, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I have the Sprint Epic Touch, Epic 4G Touch, and it's a 4.5-inch Super AMOLED screen, and it really is a beautiful screen for displaying photos on.
Right.
The other thing that you have, which is nice on most smartphones, is this pinch zoom, so you can zoom in on details on the photo.
Oh, exactly.
Which is really nice.
I've done that. Yes. Matter of fact,
the chat room is saying, if you were willing to move to Virgin Mobile, they have very inexpensive data plans, like $35 a month data plans. And they can also sell you, like the Motorola Triumph, which has a bigger screen.
Well, if I went with Virgin Mobile, like the chat room is saying, what is the coverage? See,
they're
one thing
Sprint.
I do like about Verizon,
They're owned by Sprint, so it's whatever Sprint is in your area. Sprint's actually, I was just talking to somebody the other day who travels all over the country. He's a comedian, and he's a Sprint user. And I said, really, do you find that Sprint works? He says it works great in New York City. It works everywhere that he goes.
Except for in the wilderness areas. See, when you go out to the wilderness areas, example, if you go out to a place like Anza Borrego, or you go around Big Bear Lake, areas like this, that's where Verizon rules, and they truly do.
Well, then you have to stay with Verizon because that's where the boys are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, now this company, Parrot Mobile that you mentioned, now is this a common company that's like on street corners?
Yeah, if you just drive around, believe me, you go to the nearest strip mall, there'll be a cell phone place. Most of the time, they won't be a company store. And you can tell if it's a company store, it'll say the Sprint store, the Verizon store, or whatever. You want one that has, in the windows, all the logos. And these guys have to be a little bit more competitive. I think that they could give you some help. We have one here in Petaluma that I call Petaluma Wireless. That's why I thought maybe there'd be a Laguna Niguel Wireless. But I go to Petaluma Wireless, and I say hi to Damien, the guy who owns it. And he'll do anything, He wants your business. They have to compete with the company stores. And the problem is, of course, the company stores toe the company line. Of course they do. That's their job. That's what they're trained. I have to say that you're going to have to trick them. Because no company, Verizon especially, wants to sell you a smartphone without a data plan. And you got to be very careful if you do that, because some of these, smartphones will dial home, will use data even if you don't know it, and then you're going to get dinged. So it's a little tricky. If I were you, I would either bring a smart photo wallet with you. Those little devices, Epson makes them, a lot of companies make them. They have nice, really nice screens with a great gamut. They're intended for photographers, and a hard drive in there, and usually a flash card reader in there, and you can offload your photos to that. Or get an iPod Touch. That Retina display is small. It's only 3.5 inches, but it's a Retina display, so it's very high resolution. Or an iPad, which is actually lower resolution, but still looks pretty good. This is we get this call frequently. If you want a smart-ish phone, there are some out there. I've told people on Verizon to get the Microsoft Kin. You might look at the Kin. The Kin, they now sell the Kin if you can get them to sell it to you, because they don't want to. They now sell the Kin, which Microsoft no longer makes, for a penny and no data plan. It's great for teenagers who want to text and things like that, but don't want a data plan. But I don't know how good the screen is. I'd have to look at it. A lot of people are saying maybe what we call an MVNO that uses the Verizon network. J5 suggests is Page Plus Cellular. These are companies that sit on the Verizon network but have a different name. They call them mobile virtual network operators, or MVNOs. That might be another choice. Nice to talk to you again, Gary. Thank you. Good luck. Let me know if you find a good solution. Sydney's in Harlem, New York, New York. Hey, Sydney. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, long-time listener, first-time caller.
Thank you, Sydney.
A friend of mine who bought a LCD TV here in New York, she's moving to Singapore and wants to know if she can use her TV set over there.
Singapore, I think, is, I'm trying to, there's there's 3 different television standards. There's the 2 common ones are NTSC, which we use here in the U.S., and PAL, which is used widely in Europe. Some of Asia uses CCAM, and France is mostly what uses. Of course, the French do it a little differently. French use CCAM. I'm not sure what Singapore uses. It's probably PAL, which means she would need a converter to use it in Singapore.
Okay.
I believe that's the case, and if I'm wrong, would you correct me in the chat room? Singapore is ex-UK, so I don't know. The display. So here's you're right. Nick H30 says the display will probably work. It's the tuner that's the issue. So if she's going to be playing off of a local cable box or a local DVD player, she's probably all right. In other words, the displays are multi-standard compatible.
Okay, great.
Singapore is PAL, by the way. Hey, thank you, Sydney. I appreciate the call. I'll have to look. I'm going to research that a little bit more. I may be confused about how all this stuff works. There is a different standard. It is PAL in Singapore. And Big Jim In and Out says VideoUniversity.com has a good article. VideoUniversity.com has a good article on world TV standards. I would guess that modern displays, they're made in Japan, most of them, or Korea, right? I would guess that modern displays would work just fine everywhere. They're not going to make a different display for every standard, are they? It's an interesting question. I don't know. Worldwide TV standards, you can go through all of these, and we'll go down to Singapore. Holy cow. And see, Singapore is PAL. So there you have it. For what it's worth. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More of your calls after local news. You stay right here. Gazelle it. See, that's not an enclosure. That's some model or something somebody made. Let me take you to Gazelle.com and tell you a little bit about Gazelle. Gazelle is great. I'm a Gazelle fan. Gazelle. It's great for gadget hounds and early adopters like us because, I think you should have a one-in, one-out policy. Like, you don't buy another product unless you get rid of a product. And Gazelle is great. You getting ready for the iPhone 4S? Well, sell that iPhone 4. Let's just see what it would be worth here. iPhone 4. How big is your iPhone 4? You got the 32 gig? Okay. Whoa. They start at $201, and even more if you're in flawless condition, right? You put it in a box, they'd pay the postage, then you get an Amazon gift card, a check, or PayPal. You got to try this. They'll recycle this stuff, or healthfully, ecologically sound recycling. If you can't make it work. And of course, you can also give your money to charity. Gazelle. Don't sell it. Gazelle it. Get cash for your old gadgets. Get them out of the house. It's a good feeling. I tell you, every time I do a Gazelle box, I go, Gazelle.com. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the number. I'd love to hear from you if you want to talk tech with me. I'm here for you, baby. Coming up, I think in half an hour, is Chris Marquardt, our photo guy. Love talking digital photography. I'm taking this coming week off. I'll be here next week for the radio show. In fact, we're going to do next Sunday's show. We're going to do from the Big Ham Conference in Santa Clara, California, PacificCon. So if you're interested in ham radio, we'll talk a little bit about what's going on with ham radio next Sunday on the show. But between now and then, I'm going to take 5 days in San Diego. I was going to tie it in. It's great. I'm so happy. I was going to tie it into the CTIA conference. The big Cell Telephone Industry Association has their yearly conference. It's going to be in San Diego this year. And the reason I don't normally go to CTIA, but Tuesday was going to be a big day. Samsung and Google have this big announcement Tuesday night. And we're pretty sure, I think everybody knows, it's going to be Samsung showing its newest phone. I just got a Galaxy S2, which I love, and then already Samsung's going to update it to we believe they're going to call the Nexus Prime. And it'll be the first phone running Google's newest Android, which is called Ice Cream Sandwich. So we've not seen it. This was going to be the Tuesday, the first reveal of Ice Cream Sandwich and this Nexus Prime, which really, it looks curved, it looks beautiful. It looks like, and it's big. It's, I think, 4.5 or even bigger inches. I think it's 4.7 inches. And Samsung makes those beautiful OLED screens, the Super AMOLED screens. They're just gorgeous. I was very excited. So I thought, well, I know what I'll do. I'll go to this is an excuse. I have to go down and cover this. And while I'm down there, maybe I'll spend a few extra days on the beach. So I made the, hotel reservations, the air reservations, Monday through Friday in San Diego because it's work. And then Samsung and Google canceled the announcement. It's interesting. They say in honor of Steve Jobs, we feel it would be unseemly to announce a new phone so soon after he passed away, which I find kind of strange. Apple and Samsung are at each other's throats. Apple's suing Samsung, saying Samsung's phones are a direct ripoff of the iPhone. And in fact, it's been a bitter battle. Apple has successfully stopped Samsung from selling tablets in Germany and Australia. And they were trying very hard to get Samsung, to get the International Trade Commission to prohibit Samsung from selling smartphones in the U.S. So these two are at each other's throat. And now Samsung announces, but, in honor of Steve Jobs, we're not going to announce our new phone. Google and Apple, not much love lost. For a while, they were tight. Eric Schmidt, the CEO of Google at the time, was on Apple's board. Remember that meeting, Steve and Eric talking at an outdoor cafe? They were tight. And then last year, Steve Jobs, speaking to an all-hands meeting at Apple, said, Google stole our phone. Eric sat on the board, learned everything there was to know about the iPhone, then went out and made a smartphone of his own. He was angry. There's no love lost between Google, Samsung, and Apple. They're rivals, bitter rivals. Is Samsung just being classy? Maybe they are. They're doing the right thing. Just saying, we just don't, maybe they just, and I could understand this, they just don't feel like we can't really come out here and celebrate this new product while we're all kind of sad about Steve. I don't know. It's an odd thing. Remember, Samsung sells a lot of the circuits that go in the iPad and the iPhone. It's a weird world we live in. Samsung is a giant company, and different division, of course, the cell phone division and the computer components division. But still, I don't know what to make of it. I can't. This has never in my memory happened before, where out of respect to a business rival, a company said, we're not going to make an announcement this week. But that's what they're going to do. It's fine with me. I'll just have another day on the beach. I'd be very curious, though, to see if they still announce this phone or still release this phone. And it looks like it'll be a great phone. Looks like it'll be a great phone. 8888 Ask Leo. Certainly, I have absolutely ordered an iPhone 4S. Got up at midnight on Friday, midnight Pacific time, and hammered the Apple site, as a lot of other people did, and the AT&T site and the Verizon site, trying to get an iPhone 4S. It took me 2 hours, but I finally did order an iPhone 4S, so I'll have that for review next Saturday. And who knows, maybe I'll have a Nexus Prime, too, to talk about. I'm waiting. Microsoft said, would you take the Windows Phone Challenge? They've done this with a few other people. They did it with Scott Dilbert, the creator of the Scott, now I can't remember his real last name. The creator of the Dilbert cartoon. They said, Scott Adams, thank you. Scott, in chat room, always my brain, you see. Scott Adams was complaining in his blog, I have an iPhone, but I hate it. I've tried Android, I can't use it. I wish there were a better. And so Microsoft, this is smart marketing, said, well, if you will give up all those other phones for a couple of weeks, we'll send you a Windows phone. You let us know. And he said, I love it. They tried the same thing with Molly Wood, who's a tech reporter for CNET. And now she's an Apple. I think she's an Apple phone fan, right? And she said, well, it's a push, which Microsoft's she hates Apple. She loves Android. Sorry. It's hard to follow. She said it's a push, which Microsoft interpreted as success. So they said, well, we'd like to do that with you. And now normally I don't let a company dictate how we review stuff. That's why I buy the phones. And I actually own a Windows phone, the Samsung Focus. But they said, no, we'll get you a newer phone that's designed for the new Mango edition. So I'm looking forward to it because I want to give the top of the line phones in each three categories their best shot. And I always do this. When I review a phone, I put all others aside and spend 2 weeks with the phone. You have to. It's the only way to review a phone. So I've been using the Galaxy 2S for the last couple of weeks, and I do love it. Friday I'll have an Apple iPhone 4S, and I'll let you know. And then at some point we'll compare that to the Windows Phone 7. Which I think all three have their merits. I wouldn't say any one has a major advantage over the others. It depends on what you're looking for. I have no idea what this is.
Dilbert cartoon.
Oh, it's Dilbert. I love it. Kyle Benham, musical director extraordinaire. He does it every time to me. By the way, Kyle does make his musical selections available on Google Plus after every show. We then put it on our website. The website is techguylabs.com. If you like a song you hear and he plays some weird stuff, you can just go to techguylabs.com a little later after the show, and you'll find all of the songs there. He even makes a Spotify playlist, which I really like if you're a Spotify user, because then you don't even have to own the songs. You can listen to all of them. I doubt that's on Spotify, but who knows? 8888 Ask Leo. Jay Hakai is on the line. Hi, Jay. Am I saying that right, Jay Hakai from Atlanta?
No, it's pronounced Jakai.
Jakai.
Yeah. So my question is, I've got music on my iTunes, and I had used TuneUp earlier beforehand to clean up the artist and the artist, the artist name, the song name.
I love TuneUp. That does a nice job of that.
But now when I want to transfer it back over to a different MP3 player, it doesn't have that info anymore.
Yes, you know why? Because Apple, in their infinite wisdom, does not use standard MP3 tags.
Right. Is there an automatic ID3 tag editor that I could use that uses the same database that TuneUp does, or am I out of luck?
What you want is something that will convert it automatically. You don't want to do this by hand. You just want it to run.
Because that would, yeah.
And I think there are a couple of ways to do this. I used to have a great program called Cover Scout that would go through, because one of the things Apple does is store album art not in the file, but in a database, so the album art doesn't go. Chat room, do you know of a program that will take? I presume that TuneUp is not doing anything unusual. They're just using Apple's kind of non-standard markup, right?
That's what I think.
Yeah, I would assume. Let's see if the chat room has any direct ideas. And are your songs MP3s or AACs?
They're MP3 player. They're MP3s.
So that's the good news.
Yeah.
How to crack... I'm looking, just doing a little search here for... Because that's what you want, just a little converter that will go through. Music Brains with a Z. Chat room seems to... About 8 people in the chat room say, Music Brains. So that's must be a zombie program, right? The Open Music Encyclopedia. Now, what is this? I don't know this. Let's take a look here. Music Brains is an open music encyclopedia that collects and makes available to the public music meta tags. So actually, what it's going to do is do what TuneUp did.
Yeah, right. Except for my MP3. Exactly. That's exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah. So TuneUp had some other nice features, like it eliminates duplicates, things like that.
Right.
So that's done. You don't have to worry about that. So now what we want to do is we want to get those we still want to get those tags in here, and they have a number of different programs they recommend. There's one called Picard. That's Windows or Mac.
Right.
It's a tagger that you run. Will then look up stuff from Music Brains. This is interesting because it's all open source. Cool. And yes, Picard is named after Jean-Luc Picard, in case you ask. So I guess the chat room seems pretty clear that they like this. So I would try that. musicbrains.org.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
My USB port on my Dell computer it's not dead. It's just it doesn't charge. It charges stuff, but it doesn't. The computer doesn't recognize it as a.
So you're still getting power, but you're not getting data.
Right.
Yeah.
I have another one that I use, but I'm wondering if I can, do anything with it.
Probably not. Most of the time, the USB connector on the motherboard is, soldered on there, basically. There's a chip on the motherboard. So if it's fried, which just sounds like it is, a short can do that,
Right.
You're lucky you still get power. You could still use it to charge. And usually, in this case, there's a couple. It sounds like there's a couple of chips, and so one's working, one's not.
All right.
Nothing you can do. You don't want to, short of replacing the motherboard or being really good with soldering, which I wouldn't recommend.
Not going to do that.
Not going to do it. Don't go there. Thanks. Great to talk to you, Jakai. Take care. 8888 Ask Leo. Cynthia, Northridge, California. You're next. Thanks for hanging on, Cynthia. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo.
Yes.
I know you are a fan of the Sling Box.
Yes.
And I would really, really like to get one.
Yes. I won't whistle anymore. I'm sorry. People's dogs are going crazy. Yes.
Fortunately, mine is in the other room.
Good.
I guess nowadays people keep their TVs and their computers in the same room, but mine are not.
Yes.
And I really don't want to be tripping over a cable.
So the Sling Box doesn't need to hook up to the computer, but it does need to hook up to the internet. And you're saying your internet port is not there.
Well, my internet is connected to my computer.
Right. It's next to the computer. Of course it is. Why would it be anywhere else? Of course it is.
Well, that was my question.
Yes.
Why would it be anywhere else?
So there are a couple of ways you can solve this. Sling itself makes a device, the power line device, that you plug into the wall and you plug into your router, and it'll just send it over the power lines. So that's what I would start with.
Well, so how does it pick up the information from the TV?
So you have two boxes. I have one at home, and I haven't tried it because my Ethernet is right next to the TV. I actually, believe it or not, I moved my Ethernet so that it would be next to the TV. That's the other way to do it. But they make a box. It's in a box, and it's two things. One plugs into the wall next to your internet connection, and one plugs into the wall next to your TV. The internet connection plugs into this dongle that's coming off the plug socket, and then your Slingbox plugs into the other end. And it uses you already have a wire in your house. It's the power wires. So it just uses those. And I've heard that it works quite well.
So the Sling, okay, so my router is hooked up to the computer, and that's what I hook up the Slingbox to, right?
No, your Slingbox will be next to your TV still, because it's more important for it to be hooked up to your cable box or whatever, your television inputs. So what your problem is, you have to get Ethernet, an internet cable, to your Slingbox. And your Slingbox is next to your TV.
Right.
So this box that they sell has two adapters. One that goes next to your cable modem, right?
Okay.
And one, so over there where your computer is, and one that goes next to your TV.
And so then so that they can communicate wirelessly. Is that right?
No, they're not communicating wirelessly. They're communicating over your power lines.
You mean the electricity?
Yes. It works.
Really? I don't have to do anything special for them to do that?
Not to your electricity, no. As long as...
I am not the most...
Well, this sounds crazy. I agree with you. It's called Power Line Ethernet, and it didn't work for years, but they've got it down pretty well now. So since you already got a wire in the wall, it works pretty well. They sell them about $100. Sling Media, Sling Link. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Wow. Hey, look who's here! It's Chris Marquardt. I don't even know if I have a lower third for you anymore. Chris Marquardt, our photography guru, host of the Tips from the Top Floor podcast out of Tübingen, Germany. And he is our photography wizard, our digital photography wizard. Joins us from time to time and talk about photography. How you doing, Chris?
Pretty good. I'm so glad to be back. And it's Tübingen, but...
Tübingen. It's the U that gets me. Tübingen.
The U sound, yeah.
Tübingen. Hello, Chris Marquardt. So what's up? You just did a workshop in Toronto?
Yes, I just returned from Toronto. I actually spent some time there with friends, and then did a workshop and spent a bit more vacation. So that was the vacation for me for this year. And yeah, we've been doing great stuff there: urban photography, cityscapes, night photography, and tons of just extreme exposures and pretty advanced stuff. But it was a really good group and lots of fun.
How fun! You asked me before we went on how my photography is going, and I love photography, but I've been carrying around that X100. The Fujifilm X100, which you called the Diva camera. And boy, were you right. That camera, it's hard. It's a lovely camera. Lovely camera, but hard to get doing just what I want. I think I'm going to go back to the 5D Mark II. It really, as big as it is, as clunky as it is, it gets such marvelous images. And I know that's what you shoot, is a Canon 5D Mark II. When is the Mark III coming out? Are there any rumors about that?
Oh, yeah, there are rumors all the time, and there's an event coming up, and then they don't announce it, and there's another event going to come up pretty soon.
I saw there's a Canon event. They said you should come to this, but I don't know if they mean it or not. I don't know what they're going to announce.
I think the next Canon event they announced is somewhere in the Netherlands, but sometimes they do these announcements there, so I'm very happy. I've had the 5D Mark II for 3 years now.
It's a great camera.
And it's a great camera. It's still a great camera. I don't really know how to improve it, so...
You know what I did? We do a photo show now on our TWiT network called TWiT Photo with the great Catherine Hall, and every week, you've been on it, we interview really good photographers, and I forgot which one it was, but he told me about this new technique called back focus that I'd never used before. Do you know about this, Chris?
Back button focus.
You use the so normally when on most digital cameras you press the button halfway down to take a picture, and it focuses and sets the exposure. But he suggested, and I think it's really been useful for my photography, changing that autofocus to the back button on this camera. Not all cameras, point and shoots generally don't offer this, but most digital SLRs do, so that it doesn't refocus until I press that back button. The advantage of that is I can focus once and then shoot all the time without moving too much, obviously, to stay in focus.
There's another advantage. Because with the focus button or with the shutter button, you also lock the exposure. So if you want to do like a focus and then recompose,
exactly,
you will get the exposure from that final scene and not from the first one that you focused on. So that'll actually, yep.
I just took 12 pictures and they're all the same focus. So especially with a lens that is very fast, I'm shooting with this very fast 1.2 f-stop lens. That's really nice because, and for portraiture, things like that. So I've been playing with that. That's been fun. Kind of an interesting technique.
It's absolutely great technique. I've been using it for a long time.
Why didn't you tell me? You didn't tell me.
You know, sometimes on the workshops I tell people about it, and then what happens is they switch it, and you need some time to get used to it. So they end up with out of focus pictures for the rest of the workshop. So I kind of keep it back to the end of the workshop.
Yeah, tell them ahead of time. Exactly. Maybe it was Frank Dorhoff, the light meter guy. I can't remember who it was who told me, but anyway, it's been great. It's really fun. Yeah, I'm a terrible photographer, but I have.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
But I love playing with it. It's a great hobby. So we have some photographs. Now tell us what the assignment was, because I've completely forgot. Was it busy? Was it busy?
Yeah, it was busy. It was a long time ago.
I was too busy to take any pictures.
Well, I did take lots of pictures, but not specifically for this assignment, even though a lot of them were busy. So I selected 3 pictures. We have the assignment going on Flickr as usual. And I selected 3 that I thought were interesting.
So this is a crazy thing that we do, but I know it's a radio show, but we are now going to show you, in your mind, 3 pictures. Our favorite pictures that illustrate busy. The first one comes to us from March 201989. Wow, is that busy? It's called Busy Nurses.
Yeah, and I chose that for several reasons. Well, first of all, it is a busy picture. There's lots of it going on, lots of things going on it.
Yeah.
Then the title kind of adds to it, so it's a busy hospital kind of situation. And then what I like about it is it's from a photography point of view. It's okay. It's a snapshot type.
It's
of
a snapshot,
picture,
yeah.
but it tells a story. And everyone who sees that picture will have some story, maybe good, maybe bad, in the mind. So pictures that tell a story in general are, for me, the much better pictures.
So sometimes even a snapshot, not a super technical photo or great depth of field or anything, will still be evocative.
And you know why it tells a story? Because it leaves things out, because it doesn't really show you the entire thing. It just shows you a detail of something that people can relate to in some way, and then the mind starts going, and you start filling in the blanks, and you start making up that story around this picture.
That's good. So even though it was probably a point-and-shoot camera, might even have been a camera phone, by cropping it, by just taking a little bit, for instance, we don't see the patient, you get to fill that in with your mind. This next one is from Andy Boyce. It's called Smithsonian Entrance Crowd. And yes, it's definitely busy in the Smithsonian.
That is a beautiful shot. First of all, I love the symmetry in it, which is broken by, you see the Smithsonian, you see an entrance hall, and then on the right side you see this big elephant, which breaks that symmetry, so that adds a very interesting element in there.
It's a stuffed elephant, folks. Don't worry too much.
Yes, it's not real.
And then it's a time lapse, so you see some people are not moving much, but others are, and so you get the sense of movement around the floor of the museum.
It's probably like a half a second, maybe even a second exposure. Mm-hmm. So you see the people standing in line, being very, very still, not moving, and the other people walking around. So you get this sense of almost like a beehive kind of a feeling there. And it really illustrates with a good photographic technique, it illustrates the concept busy.
Yeah, it is. It's neat. And also the composition's good. The elephant, which you might have been tempted to center, is off to the right, so draws the eye around the photo instead of just plopping it right in the middle. I kind of like that.
Yep.
Finally, this comes to us from D90 Ranger, and it's called Daily Road Trip. Obviously, his commute.
It is apparently his commute. What you see is the shot out of a car window through the front window. You see the the windshield being kind of dirty. So the
Now I've
focus is
taken
actually
a million pictures through my car window with my camera phone. Why this one?
Why this one? Because it adds this busy feeling. You see some roads in the background. The light is coming onto the camera, so you have backlight. You see the reflections in the cars back there. It's a very almost an abstract kind of a picture, even though you see what's going on. And then there's this beautiful color contrast between the yellow, the
sky
orange
is
strip
kind of
on,
yellow,
on the
yeah,
street, the sky
yeah.
kind of yellow on the left top, and the
Cars
cars blue. So you
yeah.
have this primary color contrast together with this out of focusness of the picture.
Another thing that I know Chris Marquardt likes, and if you want to get your picture picked by Chris, you love geometries, and you particularly like lines. And there are three. This picture has three lines. The three highway dividers. Actually, there's two, and then the line on the highway. Hey, we're going to get another assignment. Hang on, Chris. Don't go away. We're going to take a break and come back. Chris will give you an assignment so you can participate next time. No prize, just fun. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Every picture tells a story. Every picture tells a story. It's true. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. And speaking of stories, here's the storyteller himself, Mr. Chris Marquardt, our photo guy. We just reviewed some of the pictures, and if you want to go see these pictures, they're on Flickr. They're open to anyone. All you have to do is go to flickr.com. That's Flickr without an E, FLICKR.com. And if you're a Yahoo, if you have a Yahoo account, you already have a Flickr account because it's a Yahoo property. But if you don't even have to sign up to find the Tech Guy group and look at the pictures. But if you'd like to participate with us, this isn't a contest. We don't give out prizes. It's just an incentive to go out and take some pictures. And you can do this with your camera phone. You do not have to have a fancy camera. That's not what this is all about. This is about taking pictures. So our last assignment was to illustrate the word or concept busy. Chris Marquardt, what is our assignment this time?
Well, the next assignment, I thought back and forth of what to make it, but I think for some special reason we should make the assignment Apple.
Oh, I think that's great.
That has lots of different meanings, and I think right now it has probably a lot of special meaning to a lot of people.
I love it. Thank you, Chris Marquardt. That is a great idea. So here's again how it works. Create an account on Flickr. If you don't have one, it's free to do so, FLICKR, no E, R.com. Upload a picture. You can upload one a week illustrating the idea Apple. Now, we're not going to tell you what that means. Just it could be you get to decide. And do use a tag on the picture called Apple, and then join the Tech Guy group. It's free to do that and upload it to it. Orbit Gal will welcome you to our Tech Guy pool, and the rules are all going to be there. Orbit Gal puts the rules in here for the assignment, and it's free to join. And then once a week you can upload a new Apple. You know, I'm going to try to do this one because I think you're right. I think this is an appropriate time, and it's so much fun. It just gives you an opportunity to go out and take some images. If you want to know more about Chris, chrismarquardt.com is his website. You can also go to discoverthetopfloor.com to find out about his workshops. He's a great photographer. You going to do Everest again this summer?
I was still talking about it. So next year is just in the planning, and we'll definitely come to the United States and Canada. We're just thinking of adding Vancouver to the mix.
Oh, yeah. Vancouver is very photogenic with the snow-capped mountains. And where in Germany?
Berlin.
Oh, Berlin.
We're going to add Berlin again, an English language workshop. So.
Oh, really? So if you're an American, you want to have a little vacation in Berlin and do some photography, wouldn't that be fun? There's lots.
Probably in spring.
In the spring. Yeah, I don't want to go to Berlin in the winter. Thank you, Chris Marquardt.
Absolutely.
Take care. ChrisMarquardt.com. Paula in Los Angeles, you're next. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Paula. Hello, Paula.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. Welcome to the show. What can I do for you?
Yeah, I had a quick question. I have an iPhone 3GS.
Okay.
And I have, a lot of music on it and photos and, stuff. So I was just wondering, I'm upgrading to the 4S already. I pre-ordered it.
Yay!
Yeah, I know. I'm very excited about it.
Oh, you're going to love it. But a big jump that is. It's so much faster.
It's a very huge jump.
Camera's fantastic. You won't need a point and shoot anymore. This is your camera. So now here's the good news. The transfer is going to be easy as pie. I hope Paula, that every once in a while you're connecting your iPhone to your computer and letting iTunes back it up, right?
Right.
Good. That's all you have to do. When you get the new iPhone 4S,
Okay.
you will plug it in, and it'll say, I see you have another iPhone. Would you like me to restore from that iPhone on your new iPhone? And you say, yes, please. And all your apps, all your pictures, all your music, boom, right there.
Oh, excellent. That's what I was really worried about.
Nothing. You won't lose anything. So what I'm going to do, because I have the same thing, and what I would tell you to do is, you really want to use that iPhone 4S. I know you really want to use it. So, but right before you use it, take your 3GS and plug it into your Mac or your PC. Let iTunes run and back it up. Okay.
Okay.
That way you'll have the latest stuff, and then you can restore onto your new phone.
Oh, okay, excellent.
Hey, and call us, Paula, next week. Tell us how you like it. I ordered one, too. It took me 2 hours. Some impressive features, especially that new camera, that 8-megapixel camera. That's going to be nice. You know what? I think I'll take my assignment picture with my iPhone 4S. That would be appropriate. Take an Apple picture with my Apple phone. The new iOS 5, by the way, you're not going to have to hook it up to the iTunes anymore to back up. It will automatically back up to the internet. So that's sweet. Now, Paula, if you're still listening, one thing I would caution about, you will get offered iOS 5 on Wednesday on your 3GS. I wouldn't do anything with it. Why mess with it? You're getting a new phone 2 days later with iOS 5 built in. So if you are getting a new iPhone, don't bother upgrading the old one to iPhone 5 before you make the swap. Afterwards, fine. But I'd be a little bit nervous about doing that ahead of time. For instance, the iTunes will stop backing up. The cloud will start backing up. Maybe you'll be in the middle. It's better not to do that until after you get the new iPhone set up. And then, if you want, you can upgrade the old one. But you won't need to anymore because you got a new one. Unless you're giving the old one to your family. Yeah, iPhone operating system, iOS 5 for iPhones and iPads comes out Wednesday. And then the new phone comes out Friday. Mark, Fullerton, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks, Mark.
I'm considering I'm not ready to give up my home phone yet. I'm considering the new Magic Jack Plus or the NetCall Duo, and wanted to know what your take was on those.
I have mixed feelings about this idea in general. A lot of people are doing it. There's the UMA also that you can replace your phone lines with. And, of course, many internet service providers are encouraging you to buy the bundle, which is essentially doing the same thing. You're instead of having a regular phone, you're going to have an internet phone with its Comcast or Cox or Time Warner, any of these companies. The drawbacks, the chief drawback, in my opinion, is if the power goes out or the internet goes out, your phone goes out. Most of them, the cable company phones will have a big battery backup, but the Magic Jack won't, and the UMA won't, and all those other ones won't. And that's a problem because, frankly, power going out could be an emergency. If you have and I would do this, I would get the lowest cost phone line you can and get a phone that doesn't have to plug into the power, just plugs into the wall, like those old, Western Electric phones. That's an emergency phone that will continue to work even if the power goes out because the phone company provides the power. And I think for safety, that's the best thing to do. You also have True 911. These VoIP solutions have a different solution. They have an E911, a regional 911. You have to set it up. You have to say what your home address is. But that's because you can take the Magic Jack out of the house and go to a hotel. Now, there's nice. You got the same number, but you call 911. They don't know where you are.
Right.
So I think I know most kids today have a cell phone, and that's it. And that, by the way, may well still work. A cell phone may still work if the power's gone out. I love the idea of the security of having a phone that works even if the power's out.
Yeah, I understand.
However, having said that, these are good solutions. If your bandwidth is good enough, if you have a good, reliable... Is your internet service provider reliable?
Yeah, I have AT&T Uverse.
Yeah, well, if they're but if you have that, by the way, and you use Uverse for phone, it's VoIP too. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Well, a good day to you, Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy, hour number 3 of the Tech Guy Show, wherein we talk about computers, the internet, cell phones, camcorders, MP3 players, digital photography, all the great stuff, the hobbies, but also the remarkable things we can do with technology today. Phone number's 8888 Ask Leo. We've been talking, of course, about Steve Jobs, but also about the iPhone 4S, which comes out on Friday, iOS 5, which comes out on Wednesday. I have to say, and I've become a connoisseur, a cell phone connoisseur. I used to kind of mock cell phones. I didn't want to be the gadget guy. I wanted to be the tech guy, and I love talking about computers. But until really Apple came out with the iPhone, I just didn't want to talk about cell phones. But then the iPhone came out, and it was so elegant and so beautiful, and really a computer. First Android phone I got, which was the first one they made, the G1, very disappointing. That was just a little bit after the original iPhone. But Google caught up fast. And I would say the latest Android phones are spectacular. The Droid Bionic on Verizon, the Galaxy S2 on AT&T, T-Mobile, and they have it on Sprint, but they call it the Epic 4G Touch. That's actually the phone I use day-to-day now. They're beautiful. They're powerful. They're fast. Great apps selection. Even Microsoft's Windows Mobile 7 is very impressive. So we've got great choices. For a while, if I would recommend a cell phone, you'd have to go with AT&T and an iPhone. Now you can choose the carrier first, as I used to recommend. It's always best to go with the carrier first, the carrier that works best where you are, and then choose the best phone on that carrier for you. There's lots of good choices now, though. It's an exciting time. Basically, we have full-bore computers in our pocket. And I'm curious, and I certainly will review next week, Siri, the new iOS 5 assistant that you talk to on the iPhone 4S. Unfortunately, not available on any other Apple device, just the iPhone 4S. But it looks cool. Of course, demos always look better than the real thing. You got to wait and see. You got to try it in the real world, where there are babies crying and kettles boiling and people murmuring, and see if it works there. Next week, we'll be doing the show next Sunday from Pacificon in Santa Clara. Come by, say hi, the big ham show. We'll talk a little bit about ham radio. If you are a ham or you'd like to know more about amateur radio, that'll be a great show to listen to. We'll talk to some very interesting people who are doing some really amazing things. Meanwhile, back to the phones. Ann in Winchester, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Ann.
Hi, how are you, Leo?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. It's a pleasure to speak to you finally.
Well, thank you for hanging on.
I have a question for you about 35-millimeter film scanners. I have quite a few negatives that I want to convert to digital. And I've been looking at the Canon CanoScan 900F and the Epson Perfection V600. Canon uses the Fair Level 3, and Epson uses Digital Ice.
I love Epson.
Does it
I
matter?
love Epson. Now, both of these scanners, I believe, are flatbed scanners with attachments. Is that right?
Yes, they are. Uh-huh.
So the other way to go is with Nikon.
Okay.
And they make a scanner that is more like more automated, that you put the slides in and it goes zzz, and takes them out. The issue with all of these is how long it takes.
Yes, that's what I've been reading.
How many slides do you have?
Oh, I have probably thousands of them.
Okay. So
I have quite a few.
It's really a question of how much your time is worth. Now, if you're retired and you want to spend some time on this and you don't mind spending 8 hours a day for the next couple of years, go at it. But I would say, unless you have a handful or you're not planning on doing them all at once, that it's really better to use a service for something like this.
Okay.
That's what I ended up doing. I had maybe 5 or 6 Kodak carousels, each with 140 slides in it. So that's, 700, 800 slides. And 800 slides, it would have taken me maybe a few months. But I just considered my time more valuable. I found a service that did it fairly affordably. I think it cost me maybe $500.
Okay.
And they did some things that I maybe wouldn't have been good at. For instance, they cleaned them first. Because most of these slides or negatives, they're going to gather dust and hairs, and there's going to be stuff on them. So they cleaned them first, and then they color corrected them, which I really liked. They didn't do, elaborate color correction. But, if you have, for instance, I had a lot of old Ektachrome slides. They're very blue looking. And they fixed them. They made them, they fixed the white balance. They probably have automated software that does this. Certainly, if I were going to do more, I would go into Photoshop. But if you have a lot of them...
I have several thousand. I have a lot.
They're going to do it more efficiently. You're going to save the cost of the scanner, which you're really not going to use again, because who's shooting film anymore?
Well, I do have a Canon Rebel TI SLR still, so I am.
Really? The Rebel is film? I thought they made a film version of that TI.
They did that at the beginning, and then now it's the Rebel
now
TI
it's digital.
too, the digital. But I love my SLR, and of course, it only takes film, so.
Well, one of the advantages of getting the Epson that you mentioned, or the Canon, is their flatbed scanners, so you can use them as regular scanners for other things as well.
Okay. And how would I find the service you were talking about? Is there a certain name for it?
There's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of them. I used one in Rhode Island because the slides were in Rhode Island. They were in my mom's attic.
Okay.
And I had my sister, who lives next door, go up in the attic, get the slides, and she knew a very good place in Rhode Island. You are in Winchester.
Uh-huh.
There are certainly national services that do it.
Okay, so just type in on the internet something like 35mm film scanner.
Exactly.
Or something?
Yes, film scanning services. I would look at reviews.
Okay.
I
what I was looking at on these too.
Because Costco will do it. A lot of photo processors will do it. Your local photo processor will do it. But you want to find somebody who really does a good job. And that's why I was very happy with this company, because they did clean it. They did color correct it. They did stuff that probably all the companies won't do.
Okay, I had one other comment. Have you had a chance to review the Amazon Fire tablet?
I have ordered it.
Okay,
they didn't send me one ahead of time, and as soon as it comes out, I will have it, and I will review it. It's not out for another month, but you bet the minute it comes out, I will let you know. I did buy immediately. My review policy is, in general, that I buy this stuff. As opposed to accept review units. I'm not on the list to get advanced review units, so I don't see stuff ahead of time. Mostly because I'm not a print journalist. I don't need to spend 3 weeks writing a review. I just get it and talk about it that day. So I don't do that, and I also don't like to have to. I think there's often an unspoken deal when you get this stuff for loan. So I bought it, and I will have it, and I'll review it the day it comes out or a couple of days afterwards.
Okay, awesome. Thanks so much. I appreciate your help.
Thanks, Ann. I appreciate your call. You too. Take care. Costco does do some touch-up. You should look. Your local photo processor might be the great person to use. It just depends how much care and effort they put into it. So ask them, what do they do? Do you clean them? Do you touch them up? And, of course, the more they do, the more they'll cost. But usually if you have thousands, you can get a pretty good price break. And they're going to do it faster than you do because they have fancier equipment and they have automated systems. Chat room, do you have any recommendations? I know Scan Cafe is a national one. And, I've been meaning to try them out, and I haven't had a chance to. But scancafe.com is the national one that I know about. They send you a box. And you fill the box, and they do it. And I'm sure that they have a good deal. So I'd take a look at Scan Cafe. They also do video conversion, slide conversion, and all about that. 8888 Ask Leo. I am Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. If you have a question, a comment, a suggestion, if you want to talk, let's talk. 8888 Ask Leo, as long as it's about tech. Don in Cranston. Oh, somebody was asking. So, Leo, who did you use for your slides? And this was just because the slides were in Rhode Island, and my sister and mom were in Rhode Island, and could hand carry it to this place. And one of the nerve-wracking things is mailing, 1,000, 2,000 slides, of which there are no copies. They're one of a kind. So we used a slide conversion service that was local. Very good one. I was very happy, called ABAR, ABAR.com. And I would not hesitate to recommend them to anybody in the who's near enough to Providence, Rhode Island, that you could just bring your slides over. I can't remember what it cost. I think it was something like 50, 60, maybe 70 cents a slide. But they did a very nice job. Yeah, I think it was 70 cents a slide. Scan Cafe does a great job at 29 cents, I'm told. So there you have it. Don, Cranston, Rhode Island. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Don.
Hi, Leo. How you doing?
Very well.
I've actually used ABAR, and they are great.
Oh, they did a great job.
They are great. And I just looked online. They have something called shoebox service, which I thought meant you can just box them up and send them.
Yeah, Scan Cafe does that. They don't count them. They say whatever you can fit in that box.
Right.
I'll tell you, it was the best thing I ever did. We'd had those slides. I had put them in carousel. I had gone through them, so they were already edited. They weren't just kind of random. But they were slides from, my babyhood in 1956 all the way up to my daughter's babyhood in 1992. That's when that was the last time we took slide photos. And they were all in carousels. They'd already been ordered, so I knew that I'd edited them. And we just brought the carousels in, and they did a great job. And now we have DVDs. I sent one to my dad, my mom, my sister. We all have copies, and it's great. I went through them. I ordered them some more by people in the slides, and it's just really nice to have those family slides that we've had for so long. I encourage anybody to do that.
I remember when you did that, and you showed an example of one that was you as a little kid, and I was amazed. It looked so sharp, and
remember that slides have quite a bit of resolution. I mean, I don't know if they're comparable to the top of the line digital photography today. Certainly, it's not as crisp because the cameras weren't as good, but they can look pretty darn good.
Sure. Well, I have a question.
Yes.
And a concern. I just this weekend decided to take the plunge. This is the first time I've ever had a smartphone.
Wow.
So I did my research, and I decided to buy an unlocked Samsung Focus. New.
Good choice.
Yeah, it looks, I used to have a Zune HD. So
yeah, so if you like that Metro interface.
Yeah, I was heartbroken when I heard they weren't going to keep going with the
Well, there's no reason. So that we should mention that the Samsung Focus, which I also have, is a Windows Phone 7 phone. So it has that same, they call it the Metro interface, the tiled interface that the Zune HD had. They killed the Zune HD because people don't really buy standalone devices. Even the iPod sales have slowed. Why? When you have a phone that has all the music on it.
That's true. And the Super OLED screen's beautiful.
Yeah, I think Samsung makes great phones. I'm sure that's why Apple's suing them.
Exactly.
They actually make fantastic phones.
Well, here's my concern. I was planning on, obviously in the house, using Wi-Fi. And I've been hearing, or reading, I should say, that people have said even though they turn off their data in the settings, the phone settings, they're still seeing data usage on their account. And like if they said, one of the things I heard a lot was that when the phone goes to sleep, it'll actually somehow phone home or something and rack up usage. Up to, one guy said 180, I think, megabytes overnight.
Wow.
So if you have a 200 meg, simple bottom of the line service, you can get in trouble. I mean,
I'm going to have to ask our Windows Phone expert, Paul Thurrott. He wrote the book, Windows Phone Secrets, about that. I do think that it's not unusual for smartphones to sip a little 3G data, even if they're on Wi-Fi. But in theory, they should turn off the 3G when you've got Wi-Fi. Why even use it? I think some of it is used because that's how the phone company validates you. I'm just not sure. And Don, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know how much data that the Windows Mobile uses when you've got Wi-Fi turned on. I shouldn't use much. Shouldn't use 100 megabytes, 200 megabytes. That's crazy.
Okay, and I'm going to sneak in one quick question. What happened to the Facebook for iPad?
That was a rumor. Now, well, actually, it wasn't just a rumor. The guy who wrote it for Facebook finished it in May of this year, and Facebook declined to release it for whatever reason. The guy got so frustrated, he's quit and went to Google and wrote about it. So we know that it exists. We know that it was held back, but we don't know why. I can speculate. My speculation is that Facebook and Apple are not in agreement. One thing I'd heard is that Mark Zuckerberg told Steve Jobs when they were launching Ping, which was, of course, Apple's social music site on iTunes. When they showed Ping, when Steve showed it at his keynote, it had Facebook integration. When they released it, it did not. So something went wrong there. Jobs said that Facebook's terms were, quote, onerous. What I had heard is that Facebook wanted personal data about users, and Apple wasn't willing to hand it off. That makes sense. But I don't know for sure. It's only rumors. And you're right, no iPad app. You know, when Mark Zuckerberg was asked about that a year ago, he said, well, the iPad's not a mobile device. But that's not true, is it? Because they did write one. So he was prevaricating. He was being a little disingenuous, to use another $6 word. He didn't tell the truth. They were making one, they just hadn't released it, and they still won't. And now the good news is Facebook on Safari on the iPad works perfectly well.
That's what I use.
Yeah, it's fine.
But you can't see like who's online. There's certain features.
Yeah, it could be better.
Yep.
Could be better. And it's interesting because the new iOS 5 from Apple is highly integrated with Twitter. It's all about Twitter. No Facebook, Twitter. Now, it's interesting. The Android phones pretty much integrate with both. And Windows Mobile Windows Phone 7 does a great job with both Facebook and Twitter. You've got that social hub. It's great.
I'm looking forward to finding out in a couple of days.
Yeah.
All right, Leo, thank you.
All right, take care, Don. Yeah, I think Mango, which is the next generation of Windows Phone, will fix any data leaks like that. So certainly be worth upgrading. More than half of all the Windows phones have been upgraded already. The rest will be over the next, I would say, week. So you will be getting Mango soon. I look forward to getting a Mango phone. I just like the name. Laurel, San Francisco, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Laurel.
Hi there. Thank you for taking my call.
Thanks for calling.
So I'm on a home network, and the internet connection, the cable internet connection, comes into my unit, to my apartment, and I'm separate and detached from the main house, and the internet connection in the main house it's not very good, and I was wondering if there's a way I can boost the signal. So I'm using Mac, and I have Airport Extreme, and the base station is in my unit.
Yeah, I can help you. Hang on for a second. We're going to take a break, and we'll come back. I'll give you some advice. Leo Laporte, the tech guy on Extreme. We're talking to Laurel before the break. She's in San Francisco. She has the internet connection in her place, her apartment, and you're getting it into the main building via an Apple Airport Extreme.
Yes.
Is it a late model Extreme, by the way? Is it 802.11n? Do you know?
I don't.
When did you buy it?
About 2 years ago.
Okay. Probably is. So you'll get best results if you're using N with all N gear on all sides. N does go farther than the previous Wi-Fi 802.11b or G. N is supposed to go about twice as far. However, Apple does make it very easy to extend the range of your Extreme by buying an Airport Express. You know, those are the little ones that plug right into the wall. They're like wall warts. And you can use them as repeaters. So Wi-Fi is just a radio system. It's a transmitter-receiver. And it goes normally about 150 feet. It works best at line of sight because it's such a high frequency. You know, it's in the 2.4 or 5 gigahertz range. That's microwave, and that means it bounces off, for instance, if you have a metal screen, bounce right off of that. Metal in the wall, bounce right off of that. It goes through plaster if there's no metal in it. It goes through drywall pretty easily, but some things will block it. That may be is it an older building?
Well, mine isn't, but the main house is.
Yeah, so that main house could have plaster and lath that has a metal screen in it. to hold the plaster together, that would just kill a Wi-Fi signal. So what you got to do is, I would do, is get an Airport Express and put it as close as you can to the Airport Extreme, not in your apartment, but in their place, maybe even in a window.
Okay, and because I have the Airport Express high up on the wall.
Oh, you have an Express. Oh, you already have an Express.
I mean, excuse me, no, I'm an Extreme.
The Extreme.
I have the Extreme.
Yeah, putting, of course, with radio, it's kind of a black art. Moving stuff around, is always a good idea. Try different positioning. It's an antenna. Move the antennas around. Also, try different channels. You'll see in the settings for your Extreme, you can use any channel from 1 to 11.
Okay.
Sometimes there's interference from cordless devices at one end. So put it at the other end. Really, the three channels you consider are 1, 6, and 11.
Okay. So what I was also wondering is, like, having a base station in between.
Well,
like,
that's
outside.
exactly what the Airport Express does. It becomes a wireless bridge.
Okay.
So there's a system called WDS, Wireless Distribution System, that's exactly this. It's a repeater. It sits close enough to the Airport Extreme to get a good signal, and then boosts it so it's a good signal going forward.
Okay. Okay, great.
Those are about $99. You'll see when you set up the Airport Express for the first time, it'll say, "Are you joining an existing wireless network?" And you say yes. And it does it automatically. You say, "Yeah, join," and they'll say, "Well, okay, I see this network, Laurel's Base Station. Should I join that?" Yeah, join Laurel's Base Station. Then, by the way, once you've set it up, you can move it around. So I would try different places until you get it exactly, at the best signal you can get. But if you can get it into their house and get a good signal to it, maybe have it, be very close to your apartment in the window or something. If you can get a good signal to it, then it'll broadcast through the house just fine.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you so much for your help.
Sure, Laurel. Yeah. This WDS system is a standard, but it's a very loosely defined standard. So what that means is it kind of works, depending on how it's been implemented. Generally, what I recommend, you can get repeaters from all the manufacturers, Linksys, Netgear, all of them, D-Link, all of them make repeaters. But it's generally best to use a repeater from the same manufacturer as the base station, just because then they'll have implemented WDS in the same way. So when I've got an Apple base station, as she does, an Airport Extreme, then I use an Airport Express as the repeater. If you've got Linksys, use a Linksys. If you've got D-Link, use a D-Link. It works pretty well. Another way to, there are other ways to improve Wi-Fi, but I suspect it's both the distance from her apartment and an older building, those nice thick walls that you like so much in old buildings. Wi-Fi doesn't like it so much. Huntington Beach, Kyle, you're next. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Kyle.
Hello?
Riley. I'm sorry, I misread
Riley.
it.
Oh.
Hi, Riley.
Hi, Leo. It's great to meet you. I've listened to your show many times, and it's always great how you help people.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I love doing it. I tell you, I'm very grateful to have this job.
I bet people are there glad that you're there to help them too. Well, I've got this problem with my computer that whenever when I'm using it, I have it plugged in all the time, and I've replaced the battery like twice now. And so whenever I unplug it, it's extremely slow, and I get a very bad frame rate on games and everything else.
Huh, that's interesting. So, usually with a laptop, they're regulating the power from the battery in such a way that it either works or it doesn't. You wouldn't have things run more slowly because the battery was out of juice.
Yeah.
That's weird.
And I've just got a brand new battery, and it's still doing it.
That sounds like there's something else wrong.
Yeah, and plus we just reset it with Windows, and I was having a Wi-Fi problem earlier.
How old is the laptop?
Is it in 1730? I got it for Christmas like maybe 2-3 years ago.
So it's out of warranty, but it's new enough that Dell might, give you some support on it.
Yeah, well, the thing is I called Dell, and I just got redirected like maybe 4 times, and I didn't get any help.
Well, one thing the chat room's reminding me, and it's certainly worth checking, is your power settings in your... are you Windows 7?
Yeah, Windows 7 Home Premium.
Perfect. Go into the power management and turn the power plan to high performance.
Yeah, it's on that, and it still does it.
Still sluggish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't. If that's the case, you've got to turn to high performance, which means don't slow down. Don't use speed step and slow down. maybe there's something in the BIOS. Intel chips have this thing called speed step where they slow down to save power. So I would make sure you've got that turned off. Check your BIOS. Maybe there's a new BIOS for the laptop. If Dell would have that on.
How do I check the BIOS?
So that's the setup thing you see when you first turn on the computer. It says press delete to enter BIOS or escape or F9 or something like that.
Okay, let me try something here.
F2 usually on Dells.
Yeah, okay.
And maybe reset the power management to default. I'm looking at what the chat room's giving me all sorts of suggestions. You know what I would do, Riley, is check out our chat room. If you go to techguylabs.com, that's the website, and there's a link to the chat there, and they've got a lot of suggestions for you. In general, Dells slow down when they're on battery. You want to make sure that you turn that off. And Web8243 is saying Dells slow down when they don't recognize the power cord. So maybe if your power cord's old or frayed, the Dell's saying, maybe talk to Dell and get a new one. Chat room is so useful. They're giving us lots of links to things about inside the Dell power adapter, mysteries revealed, for instance. Wow. This is a link from laptop-junction.com. Laptop-junction.com. Apparently, Dell's doing something weird with its power adapter. That's a hoot. Many Dell laptops, you'll get the message, Dell AC power adapter could not be determined. That's just weird. Anyway, we'll put links to that in the show notes, techguylabs.com. But my suggestion is just, Riley, go in the chat room and talk to them. They seem to have a lot of good ideas for you. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888. Ask Leo. That's the phone number. Scott in Reseda, California. Hey, Scott, what can I do for you today?
Hey, how you doing today?
I am very well.
Good. Currently, I'm kind of running a side job business for glass and windows, and I'm going to be buying my own computer here shortly. The one I have now is on loan to me. It's not my personal computer.
Okay.
And I was wondering what your suggestion would be for a business computer, preferably a laptop. You know, would I go with a PC or an Apple?
Well, generally, the old rule of thumb, that's mine, is Windows for business, Mac for home.
Oh, okay.
But there's more, there's a lot of nuance there that's not communicated. For instance, if you're a gamer, you got to get a PC, so it's a good home computer for gamers. And if you're in a business, you got to check and see where if there are line of business programs for your trade, where those are. I don't know if there are Glacier programs out there. Maybe there are.
Oh, there is. They're predominantly hooking up with the iPhone and the iPad.
Isn't that interesting? Because people, you want to bring the, bids or contracts out in the field with you and have the, or maybe images and so forth, and use an iPad to show them to your clients. I think that's great.
Yeah, presentations. They even have software to where you can, show them what the windows will look like, and that you can
That's
change
fantastic.
features.
Now, does that software run on Mac as well as iOS?
I don't know. I was trying to check that out before I got on the air.
That's the old question. The old way to answer the question, what should I buy, Mac or Windows, is, well, check the software you want to use first.
Right.
Nowadays, because, to be honest, Macintoshes run Windows very well, the safe bet is to buy a Mac, because then you can definitely run Windows software. You can definitely run Mac software. You can't run Windows on a Mac. Apple won't let you do that.
I see.
But you can run, because Microsoft's a software company. They're not a hardware company. Apple's a hardware company. So Apple says our operating system on our hardware only. Microsoft says, hey, run it anywhere you want it. Just pay for it. So you can run Windows very nicely on a Macintosh. You can run it either in emulation, which means you're running the Mac OS, and then you run a program like OneBox, which is a free program from Oracle, and then run Windows, and it's like a window that has Windows in it on top of your Mac. That's called emulation, or you can boot into it. Apple offers, comes with the Mac, something called Boot Camp, which lets you choose when you turn on the computer, Windows or Mac. Which one do you want to run today?
I see.
So I would get, if I were you, now that I've given you all that, a MacBook Air, because they're so light and transportable and cheap, $9.99. And they'll work great with your iOS devices, whether it's an iPad or an iPhone. And really great for the field. Now, if you want one for your office, then you can get something heavier. But if you're going to take it out there on a job with you, I think the MacBook Air is great. You put it on the seat in the truck. And this is what I carry with me everywhere. I'm going to San Diego for the week for vacation. Am I taking my Air? You better believe it. It's not going to, you got to pry that out of my fingers.
Okay, great. What about a camera, to take pictures of my work and then, later download it on...
Do you have an iPhone yet?
No, I don't.
You get the iPhone 4S, because then you'll have an iPhone. It'll do those programs you talked about. And their new iPhone 4S has an excellent point-and-shoot camera in it.
Oh, okay, great.
And it has the advantage of you can upload them immediately. You can say to the client, yeah, I'm going to take a picture. It'll be on the website in about 3 seconds.
I see. Oh, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah. You can also sign documents. There's a number of programs that allow you to sign documents both on the iPhone and the iPad. So you can present them with an estimate and say, sign here, and they can, with their fingertip, or you can give them a stylus if they prefer it, sign on the iPhone.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I think this sounds like the best solution for you, even if some of your line of business stuff is Windows. Since you tell me that there's a lot of iOS stuff now, iPad and iPhone stuff for your business, then I think that's clearly the way to go.
Yeah, that seems to be where the big major players are going.
Boy, is that a shift. I have to tell you, that is such a shift. If you'd asked me even a year ago, before the iPad came out, it was Windows, Windows, Windows for all these line of business programs. But it's really changing.
Yeah, like PPG, Guardian, they're big, glass manufacturers, and...
they provide their stuff on iPad.
Yep.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wonderful, then. I think you're set.
Okay, Leo, thank you for your
Thank you,
help.
Scott. That's great. Nice to have a clear, easy solution. There are, of course, great point-and-shoot cameras out there that will do better quality, be easier to use, but why carry a bunch of gear, right? I think the new iPhone particularly has an excellent camera, I believe. I've seen images from it. I'll let you know next week when I have one in my actual hands. In fact, I'll put some images online so you can compare. But I think Apple is increasingly replacing the point-and-shoot camera business with such good phones on these camera phones. Briefly, before we get to the next call, I think probably the last call of the day, I would, and let's see who's going to be next, just to warn you. Ed in San Diego actually wants to update me on if you lose power, what happens to the phone. So I'd love to hear from you on that one. Ed in San Diego. Hi, Ed. Leo Laporte. What's the weather like down there? I'm heading down tomorrow.
Right now it's 80s, close to 90. I'm inland, so the coast is probably about 5 to 10 degrees cooler.
Can you hear my smile coming through the radio?
Oh, yes, I can. Listen, I'm a Carbonite customer also.
Oh, good. How do you like it?
Yeah, I love it. It's completely, I don't see it at all other than it notifies you. I can see the little dots on the files that I know they're backed up. I've never had to use it as a backup, but at least I know it's there.
That's the best feeling of all, right? It's safe and you don't have to use it. What more could you ask?
Yes. Now, you were talking earlier about telephones and different systems that are less expensive, and you brought up the fact that if you lose power on some of those systems, you're going to lose your telephone.
Right.
I just wanted to remind you and your listeners that most telephones that are available that you buy in the store now have a base that runs on AC power.
Yeah, that's right. A cordless phone ain't going to work. I agree.
A portable handset, and it's not going to work if you lose power.
Yep.
So, now, like you, I run a home-based business, and I cannot lose my telephone. So what I did was, as well as the 4 cordless extensions that I have scattered around the house, I also have one corded that I have in the office all the time.
Exactly.
And when we lost power about a month ago, it was my only telephone.
The phone company provides power down the line, but it can't be a phone that has to plug into the wall. It has to be a powerless phone. And you know the way to get one? Go to Radio Shack and say, what's the cheapest phone you sell? They're not a cordless. I want the $4.99 phone. And that's the one you won't plug in.
Well, actually, mine was $10.
Okay.
But still,
Everybody do that now. If you live in San Diego, you live in earthquake country. If you live in Alabama, you live in tornado country. You've got to have that. It's a safety thing. And I told my mom when Irene was coming, I said, Mom, you have a phone that you don't have to plug into the power, right? She said, no. Fortunately, her neighbor gave her one, and they lost power for a week.
Well, I'll tell you, not only did I have the corded phone, but I have 2 battery-operated radios. Didn't have any television. I don't have anything that works without AC power. But I did have radio, so I was connected.
That's
I knew
great.
what was going on around the city, and I could still run my business sort of over the phone.
That's right. Tom Bogue is in the studio. He works with a group called CERT, which stands for Community Emergency Response Team. They're hams. You want to be safe in an emergency? Get to know a ham. Next week.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Ed.
Actually, Leo, I used to be a ham.
Well, get active again. Get yourself a little handy-talkie. Get back on the.
I let it lapse, and I shouldn't have.
Well, this is a great time to do it. Preparedness is so important. We'll be at Pacificon next Sunday talking about ham radio. Listen in, okay? Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Have a great geek week.